G'day, Harry here from Radio Rodent. Does the interface you use affect the sound of your microphone? Today, we put that to the test and more. As per usual, you're hearing me through the AT2020 using a Tascam 4x4 in the first channel with the gain set to 2 o'clock. Here in Australia, the Tascam 4x4 USB audio interface currently goes for $439. Today, I'm putting it up to the test against the Behringer UM2, which goes for retail at the same store for $73. Obviously, this one only has one channel, but we're using it for one mic either way, so it's up for the same level of testing. It's also worth mentioning you can get this same Tascam interface from the same store with only one channel, the same style as the Behringer, for only $219. It is still a significant price more than the $73 Behringer, but it is worth mentioning that you don't have to pay $473, and it isn't really a fair test if we're judging the price based on the amount of ports. So it's a $219 interface versus a $73 interface. And now we've swapped over to the much cheaper Behringer UM2. Do I sound any different? Better? Worse? What's your thoughts? This time I've got the gain set to about 1 o'clock, as when I pushed it over to 2 o'clock we were clipping just a bit, but I'd say that's roughly about the same gain, making up for, different circuitry and different potentiometers and the adjustments. So let's read some lines as we swap between the two. I'm Harry Green. I really enjoy making this video on Rodent Radio. I'll talk a bit so we see how the mic sounds. I'm Harry Green. I really enjoy making these videos for Rodent Radio. I'll talk a bit so we can see how the mic sounds. Any difference? What do you think? Both of those tests were conducted with the Audio-Technica AT2020, as you could see, which mean both interfaces had 48 volts of phantom power enabled. Now this time I'm going to try it with one of my dynamic stage microphones from back over that way, and we'll see how it does without phantom power and if that makes a difference. I'm now using the Tascam 4x4 and a surprisingly cheap dynamic stage microphone. This thing goes for $80, including the microphone and a microphone stand. At some point in the future, I'll do a review on this one, and if it's already out, you'll see it linked up there. This has been the AMS MC60 on the Tascam 4x4 interface. And here we are moved back to the Behringer UM2 interface. I'm Harry Green, and I really enjoy making these videos. Now to me, instantly, as soon as I put on my headphones, this seems to have a much lower tone, and it actually kind of sounds more natural. That's just how it's coming through to my headphones. Could be going in the computer completely different as they're on different circuits. And now here we are back on the Tascam 4x4 using the Audio-Technica AT2020 again. This is my standard audio setup. So now, what do I think about the way these two interfaces sounded? Now I'll give you my bottom line in just a minute once I review the footage, and I'll let you know what I think. Okay, I've just reviewed the recordings, and my bottom line would have to be the difference isn't as big as I thought. Obviously, you do get more of a difference between the actual microphone you use than the interface you use. Both of them have 48 volts of phantom power, which is why I was able to use this mic, and they both supplied a plenty enough amount to get it through a good level. Same story for the dynamic mic. With no preamp or anything in between, they went straight into the interface, and both of them had enough gain control at about 12 or 2 o'clock to support the sound of a dynamic stage microphone. There was a bit of a difference between the tone and sound of each interface, honestly thinking the Tascam did sound better, but it's not much of a difference, and I really had to listen close and I could barely tell. Although I do have one complaint about the UM2, and that was the presence of a constant hiss in the background. Noise, this is called, and there is a constant sss in the background of the recordings using the UM2 on both the condenser and the dynamic microphone, so that's where the Behringer does show its flaw in the cost. But it really did do a good job for the price, and honestly, I would recommend that any day. Behringer UM2 for $73, especially if you're just getting into audio. It was my first interface. It can be yours too, and really there's no need to spend over $100 if, you heard right here. If that little bit of noise doesn't bother you for your use case, I don't think it matters. And it might vary from microphone to microphone as well. You may not have noise in the microphones you use, if they're sensitive enough, I guess. But that's my only complaint, really, that little bit of noise. But otherwise, it's a great interface. Both of them are fantastic. Obviously, great stuff. The Tascam does offer more features other than the sound itself. Like, it's got 2 ports and an output for each port that the UM2 doesn't offer. But this is more about the sound you get through the microphones, through the interfaces, and really I think it's hard to compete with the Behringer for the price of it. And the Tascam did a really good job, but Behringer, I'd say go ahead and get it if you don't mind that constant noise. It did a really good job for a tighter budget.